So the Good Hope mine is where our sampling crews have recently been sampling some high-grade mineralization on various levels, and we still have samples going into the lab. The crews are still working in this area, but we've been picking up 40 meters of 13 grams, that sort of range, in some of the quartz veining in the mine in the different levels, and just trying to get a better understanding for the controls on the mineralization and the continuity and the extent and so on. And as with the other areas along Pamlico Ridge, we're surveying each of these underground workings as we go to provide a 3D model of the underground workings and also location for the sampling so that we know exactly where they're coming from, and ultimately we can take these results and build them into a resource estimate. We'll be going into the mine to take a little bit of a tour and show folks what it's like underground and the conditions that our sampling teams are working under, and give you a little bit of sense of what the old-timers were up to and when they dug these tunnels and poked around underground, pulling out all the high-grade gold.
This T-rail is, like I was saying, is real typical of typically mining from 1900 on, and in this district may not have come in until around 1910. You'll see we go to strap iron rail, and that's typical of much earlier mining, commonly of the 1880s. And they had a very unique system out here that I'll point out to you, but they had a system where they could actually reclaim the rail and the ties and not do any damage. They didn't use spikes. They actually have a system to wedge it in, and it's amazing. This is the only district I've ever seen it in. You can see how they cut it so the 2x4 would sit against this flat side, and then they would just whittle wedges. Well, that's not one, but they could just wedge it in, and that'd hold it. And then when they wanted to move, they just picked everything up. They didn't have to keep buying wood.
Oh, bat.
This is a fairly high angle structure in here. We see fairly steep structures like this, interspersed with almost flat line structures. This is a fairly high grade sample, runs 65 grams of silver and how much gold, Lucas?
2.4 grams.
2.4 grams gold. The mineralization, as you can see, is dominated by iron oxides. This very intense dark brown and black is mostly iron oxides derived from sulfides. Originally, these would have been pyrite-rich veinlets or veins within this altered rock package. And then you can see much smaller, almost hairline fractures. They're all coated with those iron oxides. That all has similar mineralization to it. And interestingly, this does not have a lot of the classic, what's called Pathfinder suite, as many of the Nevada systems. That strongly suggests that this may be more related to a porphyry type system than the classic basin and range epithermal systems. Oh yeah, these raises go on up to the next level. Lucas and I crawled up and down and around through all of this.
Oh, wow.
He's about the only person I know that's crazy enough to follow me.
You can see that shear going all the way down.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of these veins you can see are actually fairly through going.
Yeah.
A lot of the major veins are striking northwest and dipping off to the northeast. And then when you get on this side of the mountain, looking over into this big canyon they call Never Sweat Canyon, the major vein sets are striking northwest, but they're dipping very shallowly generally to the southwest. So you have a series of veins like this that are almost forming dip slopes on the ridges. But as we go through the mine workings, we can see that there are actually multiple stacked veins within the overall package. And in some of the stopes near the top of Pamlico Ridge, you actually see this lattice work where both vein sets are crossing. The sampling is very useful for us because with properly surveyed, mapped workings, the sampling data will help feed into any future resource calculation on two levels. One is the assay data provides essentially drill quality data in what amounts to a walk-through drill hole. You get all the same or better information than you do out of a drill hole by mapping these whole tunnels. The other thing is for a resource calculation, you have to know exactly or very closely how much rock has been mined out of the mountain already. Otherwise, your resource is meaningless. And so all this work, even though it is kind of slow and tedious, ultimately will be very important and feed into a future resource estimate here.
20, 30 million ounce gold deposit just east of it is sitting on the edge margin of a place called Europe. 55 right behind you with
So this sample from there to there ran 3.5 grams gold and 25 grams silver.
22.
22. But this really drives home the gold mineralization is generally contained within those thin iron oxide rich veinlets. And so we see a broad kind of a stockwork of that type of mineralization around some of the bigger stopes. So there's in places some very serious bulk mining potential in this system.
That's what we're going.
If you want to follow. Okay, now we slide down through a series of stopes down into the AD level. Lucas is the one that figured out you could go through there.
The geotechs love sampling in here.
I'll bet they do. Well, the sampling's probably not as bad as getting them out.
No.
Okay, backwards. Back down, and, yeah.
All right,
Okay.
come on down. It's not so bad.
No.
You want me to go first or you? Or? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Man, the extent these guys went through to mine.
Again, you can see the kind of the layered look to it, and this is where you had a lot of pyrite in here, and this is just white clay, probably montmorillonite.
And then what's that up above there?
Well, this is quartz.
Yeah.
That's one of the odd things about Pamlico. There's very little quartz in the system. The iron oxide is what's really carrying the gold. You can see how soft and friable that is.
Yeah.
And that's one of the problems we have in drilling this. When you hit that with the drill bit, it just goes to powder. And if you were drilling along and you got a piece of that hard quartz in front of your drill bit, you probably wouldn't get rid of that quartz until you got down to another piece of quartz and could grind it up. You could potentially drill through all of that, never get any of it in your sample. Yeah, this is almost a room and pillar type thing, almost like they do in the coal mines. And what they did throughout this, they took waste and they backfilled with waste behind them.
Yeah.
And that supports the roof.
Huh.
Here is actually iron oxide or iron sulfate. It's where you still have remnant sulfides in the vein material. Here, do you want to rock hammer?
That piece. Oh, there you go.
I couldn't hear. Did you point out some of the sulfides like galena, so the more or less intact
Yeah, sure.
pockets?
See the little bluer green in here?
Yeah.
Okay, that's probably malachite.
Like that?
Yeah. Yeah, that looks like malachite. And it's a copper, well, technically it's a copper carbonate. People call it a copper oxide. But that's derived from oxidizing chalcopyrite, which is a copper sulfide mineral that's in the veins.
This is impressive.
And again, you can see the quartz is basically just white quartz. And for the most part, the quartz predates the iron oxides. The iron oxides, what I think is going on is the iron oxides are coming in along the zones of weakness where the quartz was deposited, and just in a later stage of mineralization.
All right.
All right, shall we crawl on back to that finger edge where I got that 60-gram sample?
Oh yeah, and as you're going by, you'll see little pick marks in the ceiling here.
Is that from
I think that sort of stuff.
Yeah, from old school mining. In the clay.
pretty good at duck walking?
What's that?
You're pretty good at duck walking.
Yeah. This might be a little more challenging. It gives a whole new meaning to inside exploration.
Oh, yeah.
Having fun, Jody?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's
Smile.
Hey.
Oh, there's a rat.
Oh,
Are you kidding me?
what's that? Rat?
Yeah, a big one too.
Whereabouts?
He just ran up there.
I can see someone's light.
Some movement.
You can what?
I can see someone's light through the hole.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going up in there.
We're going to try to catch the rat.
Yeah, big dirty
Oh, you
rat
want a
just
pack
went up
rat?
there.
Yeah.
No, I don't want no rat. You see him? Awesome.
They're cute little things to get into your house.
That's 60 grams per ton.
Actually, the one Robert took is just next to it.
This one here?
Yes.
That's interesting how this vein here is cut off by this structure here.
There is a suggestion that the quartz fragments are more milled, that they're almost rounded. That, in other places, we see brecciated quartz that's quite sharp and angular, but commonly where we see visible gold, the quartz has been milled more, so it looks as though maybe there's been more movement, almost like a tumbling action, that's rounded the quartz fragments more.
All right, shall we?
Okie doke.
Mm-hmm.
Down and out.
Lead the way.
This certainly isn't for the faint of heart.
No. Should we actually come up through here?
Oh yeah.
Thought you were going down. That's what we could do.
A lot of this in here is probably the outside corner. It's dark gray.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Who's that right there?
Wow.
You know, I always tell them somebody stands up, you immediately get this. This is a real good example of that riprap.
Right.
They just totally backfilled that thing. Now this goes on down to a sub-level. I can't see any reason to go down into that. It's
Good.
But it's a nice ladder.
around. When this runs, that actually declines down. There's another winch that goes down to it further up here.
Find you guys.
Can only imagine how long this would have taken.
That goes down about 20 feet. And the
believe it or not, it's a mineralized shear zone almost all the way. It's that real flat line vein that comes back under us. And the entire shear zone's over 20 feet thick there.
Oh, wow.
And well, it's more than 20 feet. It goes right out the bottom of the lens. But the way they sank this, they had a windlass here. One guy would crank it, and they had a spool, and they just wind the rope up, hoist up a bucket with rock in it.
Bucket of ore and out it goes on the rail.
This is that strap iron rail I was talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.